Google SketchUp idea 591. Design an eco-friendly passive solar cabin for a real rock star. That's what these Australian students did. So it got me thinking about my own eco-friendly dream house, and I asked my friend Aidan Chopra to help me envision what it could look like. All right, Aidan, now that I'm this big TV star because of ITM, I need to have a cabin. That's what every big star has, right? It's a cabin in the woods.
Oh,
so
yeah, sure.
Can you help me mock this up and kind of get some ideas out on what my cabin would look like?
Absolutely. Let's start maybe with a rectangle, because all good cabins start with a
Sure.
rectangle. But I'm really quickly going to pull that up into maybe like a three-dimensional form like this.
That's pretty good.
Let's,
now I want high ceilings on mine.
High
Is that cool?
ceilings, so we better make this thing even higher.
Yeah.
We'll pull it up to about there.
All
Okay.
right.
What I'm going to do is just draw a little line here in the center, and then I'm going to go up and get the Move tool and just pick that ridge line up to make a slanted roof. Now, is that steep enough, or should we go a little steeper?
I think a little higher, yeah.
A little steeper,
because I'm going to want some
about
windows at the
right
top
there.
for the light to come in.
Okay, should we go ahead and do that now?
Yeah, I mean, definitely I want a big window on one side here, southern exposure kind of stuff.
Cool, I'm going to grab a rectangle and set it in there. I'm just going to set another one maybe over here too. So what I'm going to do is use this push-pull tool to maybe just push those in a little deeper.
Oh, great.
Like that.
So those are more like skylights.
Exactly. And then what I'm going to do is take the surface and just delete it. And then when we actually look at this thing in 3D, you'll see that we're looking down inside your building there.
All right, cool.
In fact, if we turn on the sun, you'll see that you can actually see the light there on the walls.
Okay. It's starting to look a little bit like my cabin here, but it's got nothing around it.
What I'm going to do is pull up what we call components. They're little pre-baked SketchUp models that download when you download SketchUp. You can make your own and add them to the menu. You can go online and grab ones that other people have made if you want. And we've got some stuff in SketchUp here. What I'm going to do is drag you in a little minivan. How's the minivan?
Sure, yeah, for the kids.
Yeah. Do a minivan, maybe a pickup truck in case you need to haul wood.
Definitely.
You don't want to mess up that minivan.
Although I'm a famous star, you know, I'm going to have my people do that. So we can drag in some of the shrubbery and trees. I mean, this is in the mountains, so
Absolutely.
pine trees and...
We'll grab a little tree, maybe throw a little tree in there. Here's a different kind of tree. Oops, that looks like a bush.
That's a small tree.
Actually, yep. Here's a tree
wow,
like that,
that's
too.
a big tree.
Yep. And so there's kind of no end of stuff that you can get.
That's very
This
cool.
is just the sampler that comes with SketchUp when you download it.
That's awesome. So clearly, I mean, SketchUp is an amazing tool for experimenting with different designs and things like that. And I think one of the questions that comes up is, why did Google buy this? I mean, Google's a search company. Why were they interested in SketchUp?
Really, when you think about SketchUp and why there would need to be a 3D software like this, you have to think about Google Earth. So if you think about Google Earth, it's a 3D planet.
Right.
And you've got aerial photography, and the aerial photography is on top of 3D topography, things like mountains and hills and valleys and stuff like that. But if you actually tilt down and you see, the buildings aren't three-dimensional. So the photographs are of the tops of the buildings.
Right.
But wouldn't it be great if Google Earth could have three-dimensional buildings and
Absolutely.
monuments and things
And
like
fly
that
through
too?
them.
Right. So then you've got this problem, how are you going to build the world in 3D when you think about buildings and monuments and stuff? You need to have a tool that's easy enough to learn, affordable enough, and Google SketchUp is free, and I guess fun enough to use that anybody would want to grab it, mess with it a little bit, mock up what their house looks like, maybe their neighbor house, maybe a conception of what their school should look like, upload it into Google Earth, and eventually the dream is to have an entire 3D world that includes not only photography and mountains, but also every building on Earth as well.
What sort of other things can you imagine people doing, or have you already seen kids doing with SketchUp?
What they're doing is kids within a school will build their school. And it's a great accessible project because there's obviously math concerned. There's things like architecture and proportion and stuff like that that they're learning about as they're going out and measuring their school and figuring out exactly how it works. They build a 3D model of their school, and then they start to create maps from that 3D model.
It actually is applying to a real-life situation.
Exactly. It's a completely interactive and collaborative model that multiple kids are able to work on.
Very cool. What else have you seen?
When it comes to appealing to kids who maybe draw more or they think spatially more, kids who might be good at video games but not necessarily so good at writing, there are ways to create assignments using programs like SketchUp that allow them to create a product that is a product of their thinking and of taking information and creating knowledge out of it that isn't an essay.
The sky's the limit with SketchUp, and it's a great complement to Google Earth. What's next for SketchUp?
We're going to make it even easier. So we're going to have even more help associated with it, even more videos.
Lesson plans?
Lesson plans are definitely in the works.
Great. Excellent.
and features that appeal not just to professional designers like architects, but also things like teachers. People like teachers.
That's great. That's great. Well, thanks again for a great product, and I look forward to seeing my dream house pretty soon. You're going to have the
Absolutely.
CAD drawings, the blueprints all printed out for me, right? So I can just kind
Absolutely.
of
We'll build it for you. How's that? For Google.
That's right. Thank you so much.
This is the Infinite Thinking Machine. I am the Infinite Thinking Machine.